And what's up? I a happy good morning and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am a new YouTuber. My work is to read books for you. I just want to share my reading with you all. If you listen my commentary or reading, you will become a good listener and you will able to understand the book easily. I will read every book for you. It can be a fantasy book, novel or a motivational book. You can comment me at comment section that which book should I read. So come to the main objective. Today I will read a book called Prince and the Pauper. This book is written by Mark Twain. Mark Twain was born in Missouri, USA in 1835. His name was Calvin. Calvin was only 11 when his father died. After that, he had to leave school and start working. First, Calvin worked in a printer's and started writing for a journal. Calvin then worked on a boat. He preferred jobs with action and excitement. The pen name Mark Twain came from working on boats. Later, as Calvin sailed around the world, he wrote about his travels. His stories were funny and popular. Calvin married and had 4 children. Although he was popular for his traveling writing, but he was also popular for his novel writing. So now the introduction of the book. The story is set in London in the 15s. Many rich people lived in London with big houses and servants. There were also many poor people whose lives were very difficult. Usually the rich stayed rich and the poor stayed poor. There are two main characters in this story, the prince and the pauper. They are both young boys and they look similar. However, their lives could not be more different. Edward is the prince, the son of king. He is rich and important. Tom is the pauper, which means he is very poor. Tom is not the son of a king. He is the son of beggar. Tom can only dream of princes and kings. What would happen if the two boys change places? Could a pauper become a prince? Here are some of the people in the story. Edward Tudor. Edward Tudor is a prince and will become king. He is rich and important, but he does not have friends to play with. King Henry VIII. King Henry is Edward's father and the King of England. He is cruel to some people but kind to his son Tom Canty. Tom is a pauper. However, he is a good child who studies hard. John Canty. Canty is a thief and Tom's father. He wants Tom to be beggar. Canty hates his son, and he is not also unkind to him. Miles Haddon. Miles is a strong person. He has had a hard life, but he still helps others. Do you think the prince and the pauper are happy with their lives? What do you think will happen when they change places? So, the first chapter, a pauper and a prince. Two boys are born. In 1537, in the city of London, a baby boy was born. His name was Tom Canty. His family were poor and they did not want him at all. Tom was pauper, a poor beggar. Another baby boy was born. What a coincidence. On the same day. His name was Edward Tudor and he was not a pauper. He was a prince, a king's son, and his family wanted him very much. His father was King Henry VIII of England. The people of England wanted Edward too. King Henry had 2 daughters, but he wanted a son to rule England after his death. At last, his wife Queen Jane had a baby boy, but she died when the baby prince was born. Although the people of England were sad about the poor queen, they were excited about the little prince. For many years they had waited and hoped for a son for their king. There were music and dancing and fun and feasting everywhere. Everyone talked about the baby prince, but nobody was interested in little Tom Canty. The Canty, second paragraph. The Canty family of Fish Street. Several years passed. London was 1500 years old. It had become a crowded city with narrow streets of wooden houses. Tom's family lived in Fish Street. Their house was small, old, and full of poor families. The Canty family lived in one of room on the third floor. Tom's mother and father had a bed in corner. Tom, his two sisters, and his grandmother slept on straw on the dirty floor. Straw is a dry grass. Horses and cows lay on straw. But in London in 1500, many people lay on straw on the floor because they had no beds. Tom's father and sisters were kind and good and loved their boy dearly. But his father and grandmother were wicked and cruel. John Canty was thief and John Canty's mother was beggar. However, they taught the children to beg. However, they could not teach them to steal because of Father Andrew. Who was Father Andrew? Father Andrew was an old priest. He had worked for the king and his family. He lived with them in the great palace of Westminster. But when he became old and king sent Father Andrew away without any money. Now the old priest was very poor. He had a small dark room in an old house in Fish Street. He taught the children secretly. That was the very unusual. In those days, only rich children had teachers. Tom was a good student. The old priest taught him to read and write. He even taught him a little Latin, the language of Roman of long ago. In those days, all priests could read and write in Latin. Many rich children were taught Latin too, but poor people did not even learn to read and write English. Tom was very lucky. Fish Street was a noisy, dirty place. People dark and people drank and fought all night. But little Tom was not unhappy. He had never lived anywhere else, and he did not know that he was poor. When he was small, Tom thought that everyone else in the world was like him. He wore rags, old torn clothes that were full of holes. All day he begged for pennies in the streets. Sometimes he did not bring home enough of these coins. At the end of the day, then his father and grandmother beat him, but his mother and sisters were kind to him. Father Andrew was like to an uncle to him. The old priest taught him many wonderful things. Father Andrew told exciting stories about kings and queens and princesses. The old priest had brought several books with him to Fish Street. They were the only books in the Fish Street because books were very expensive. Tom read the books. He learned about a wonderful world far away from Fish Street. In that world, people were clean and wore beautiful clothes. All this reading and dreaming made Tom different from his friends. He realized that not everyone was poor, dirty, and wicked or stupid. He realized that not everyone was like Fish Street. The world continued princes as well as paupers, and Tom began to behave like a prince. He stood up straight and tall and held his head up high. At first, the other boys laughed at him. Later, however, they began to respect him. They thought he was very wise and kind and clever. Even the grown-ups respected Tom. They asked him about their problems. His answers always seemed very wise. In fact, everyone in Fish Street respected Tom except his own family. John Canty did not respect a book learning. He wanted his son to be a beggar and a thief like himself. All this time, Tom begged in the streets for pennies. He ate his hard bread and drank his dirty water. He played unhappily with the other boys in Fish Street, but all the time he dreamed of meeting the real prince. One cold wet night, Tom Canty fell asleep on his bed of straw and rags. He dreamed that he was a prince. In his dream, he walked among rich, important lords and ladies. He saw beautiful rooms filled with light and music. Then he woke up in the crowded, dirty room in Fish Street, and his whole life seemed a dark and bitter. He began to cry. So, in this chapter 1, we learned that Tom was changed. He started to he was his aim was to become a prince, and and want to meet a prince. So thank you, and I will share chapter number 2 tomorrow. And please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Thank you.